So we're looking at day 18 of geometry, which and measurement, which was volumes of different shapes. So really we just need to use our formula sheet to do these questions. So the very first one, we're doing the volume of a triangular prism. And so the triangle is the base of this thing. So when we're looking at the shape, we need to be looking at, this is the base, and then this is called the height in the diagram on the EQAO sheet. So they actually call the bottom here the base, so that's 10 centimeters. The height of the triangle, they actually call the length, and that's the 8.3. And notice that this 10 is useless information. It doesn't help us in calculating the answer to this question, because we just need the base, the length, and the height. So the volume of a prism is 1/2 base times length times height. So that's 1/2 of the base, which was 10, times the length, which is 8.3, which looks like a height on this diagram, times a height, which is 14, which looks like a length. So you kind of have to picture this standing up. If I could rotate my page, I would, but I can't. So now I just type that into my calculator. I'm typing 1 divided by 2 times 10 times 8.3 times 14. 1 divided by 2 times 10 times 8.3 times 14 equals, that's 581. And since it's a three-dimensional figure, the units are cubed, so centimeters cubed. Julie is making a wooden art piece for school. She starts with a rectangular-based prism, then drills out or removes a cylindrical hole as shown. What is the amount of wood left over? So we can say that the, maybe not amount. Let's call that volume. So the volume of wood is going to be equal to the volume of the block minus the volume of the cylinder. Okay, so the volume of the block, that's a rectangular prism, so the formula for the volume of a rectangular prism is just length, width, height. Length times width times height. So the length is, here is 20, the width is 16, and the height is 16. So 20 times 16 times 16. We'll just type that into our calculator. 20 times 16 times 16. 5,120. The volume of the cylinder is, according to our formula sheet, pi r squared h. So what are those pieces? Well, r is the radius of the circle, so r is 5. So pi is 3.14, r is 5. And then we're squaring that, so I'm just going to multiply 5 by itself. And then the height, this is again sideways, is the 20 inches. Is 20. So we type that all into our calculator, 3.14 times 5 times 5 times 20, and we get 1,570. So my volume of wood is the block, 5,120 minus 1,570, and I can type that into my calculator to get that the volume of the wood is 3,550. And the units are inches, and they're cubed because it's three-dimensional. So that's our second example. Then we did volumes of cones and pyramids, which is again on your formula sheet. So to determine the volume of this figure, notice that is the volume total here is the volume of the cone on top plus the volume of a hemisphere. Okay, so let's do the volume of the cone first. The volume of the cone, the formula is 1/3 pi times r squared h. So r is 6, because it's r is the radius of the circle, and h is 15. So we're doing 1 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 6 times 6, that's the r squared, times 15. So 1 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 6 times 6 times 15. We get 565.2. So the volume of the hemisphere, volume hem, is really the volume of a sphere, 4/3 pi r cubed, divided by 2, because it's half of that sphere. So that's 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times the radius, which we have as 6 still. 6, 6, and 6 divided by 2. 3 6's multiplied together because it's cubed. 5, 6 divided by 2. I think I typed it wrong. I'm going to have to do it again. I had typed it wrong. 452.16. So the total volume is the sum of those two volumes, 565.2 plus 452.16. We'll add those together. So we get 1017.4 because it rounds up. That's approximate. And this is 3-dimensional, so it's inches cubed for my volume. Last example, determine the volume of the following pyramid. Show your work. Hint, you need to determine the height of the pyramid first. Oh, right. So in order to do the volume of a pyramid, the formula is 1/3 base squared times height, but we don't have the height. We have this 10, but that's not the actual height. There is a right angle triangle right in the middle of this thing. I'm not drawing it very well, but there it is. And so the hypotenuse of the right angle triangle is 10, so that's my C. The base of that is halfway across, so that's 4 inches because we go halfway into the middle, and we'll call that B. And A is the height that we don't know. So we could just draw that off to the side just so that we're clear on what that is. This is 10, this is 8, and this is my height, which is unknown. So again, this is the right angle. So this is C, I call this B, and we'll call this A. So we have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is H, so H squared plus B is 8. No, it's not, it's 4. I drew it wrong on there. Oops, let's fix that. This is 4 inches. Took it off the diagram wrong. 4 squared is equal to C, which is 10 squared. So H squared is equal to 16. That's 4 squared plus, and that's equal to 100. This is a equation that we have to solve. The H has a 16 attached by addition, so we subtract 16 from both sides to get the H alone, and we get H squared is equal to 84. And then we need our calculator to calculate the square root of both sides, and that leaves us with H equals, and we take the square root of 84, which is 9.16. Let's round that off to 9.2 because we're rounding to 1 decimal place anyway. So now we can go back to our volume formula now that we have the height. So our volume is 1/3 pi r squared h. That's 1/3, 3.14 times r squared. I picked the wrong formula. Let's try that over again. My apologies. That's not a cone. That's a square base pyramid. Let's try that again. The volume is equal to 1/3 base squared times height. So that's 1 divided by 3 times the base. What's the base? The base length is 8. Right? This is the base and this is the base. 8 squared, which is 8 times the height we just calculated is 9.2. So we do 1 divided by 3 times 8 times 8 times 9.2. And we get 196.3, it rounds up, approximately inches cubed because it's a 3-dimensional shape. And I'm pretty sure that's all we did today. Yep, I have a blank page underneath. Have a good day. Don't forget to do that practice test.